Sneaker Gears, my name is Levi, and welcome to another Sneaker Gears episode of a performance overview of what I think is possibly going to be the best KD line that Nike has ever launched, and that's an overview of the KD12. Now, this is not clickbait. I do not have the shoe, but we are going to go over the history and what I think might make this the best one yet. So let's get right into it. Alright, so the KD line 1 through 6 was essentially the budget or entry-level signature line for Nike. So it wasn't until the KD6 Elite that we have here that we really got a preview into the last 6 years where the KD line has been somewhat of a max cushion setup. Now the KD7 is the last time in the last 5 years that the KD line has actually had a decent amount of support. So most recently, the last 2-3 years, the KD line has really been, let's say, lacking support and lateral containment. So the KD7 was really an all-around great shoe, and this is the last KD where I would tell folks this is the shoe you want to get if you're, let's say, sponsoring a basketball team and you're just going to get one pair of shoes for everyone on the court. Any player is able to wear this and it would work. The support, the flexibility, the cushion with the heel max zoom, and the traction was phenomenal, and I think we're getting back to that day with the KD12. Alright, so starting with the upper, the KD12 is using a quad axial fly wire containment, which sounds really reminiscent of what they're using on the Adapt BB. Now, it's crazy to think that they're using either similar or cousin performance aspects from their $350 shoe to the $150 KD line. So that's something you want to be encouraged about. Another aspect is the Adapt BB fits a lot of people. It does kind of what it says it is. Whether you have a high instep, a wide foot, it just works. So I'm hoping that kind of makes its way down to the KD line, since in the last few years, the fit on the KD has been hit and miss. And that's going to be my first issue or question about the KD12 that we're not going to know until we try it on. I've really started playing with the KD line since the KD4, and it's almost been every other year that fit me really well, which is kind of crazy. The KD8 is the last or earliest model that really didn't fit me. The KD10 I couldn't even get just because it didn't fit me at all. So I'm hoping the KD12 works. The KD11, ironically, is very wide foot friendly. Feels like a sock, but also feels like a sock. It's almost not quite a basketball shoe, but it is very comfortable. We'll get to the comparisons on that soon. Working our way down the support, this is actually the first KD line that I can remember since the KD12 that actually has a dedicated support piece, where it's actually using a thermoplastic support piece on the side for lateral containment. Just to give you guys an idea, the KD11 and really on the KD10, KD9 going back, there was nothing for containment on this shoe. This is just a sock. There's your foot sits on top of the cushion, and there's literally nothing there to stop your foot from going off the footbed either way. So the fact they added that makes a big difference. Alright, so the upper is using some pretty advanced materials, and I'm hoping the fit's good. The support looks like it should be spot on. Another aspect of the support is going to be that flat, wide base. If you're looking for a max cushion setup, which appears the KD12 should be, and we'll get to that in just a moment, really you have your LeBron 16, which is kind of high off the ground so people don't feel as stable, and you have your Russell Westbrook Why Not 2, which is decoupled and has rounded edges. Again, not a very stable, flat base. So to get a max cushion and a stable flat base is something that is not in the KD Nike lineup. And on top of that, it's a max support and max cushion setup. So this is going to be a really unique fit in the lineup. So talking about that max cushion, just like Nike has done since the KD6 or KD6 Elite, where you have that full length Zoom Air, the KD7 did have Zoom Max in the heel, they are still going with a full length Zoom unit. But there is a big difference. So KD, since he broke his foot, really has liked max cushion setups. The KD11 was no different. Now, this wasn't a Zoom Max setup like we got in your KD9 and KD10, where you did have full length Zoom Max, super bouncy. The KD11, we went to a plush setup. This had React Zoom with the Zoom Air on top. Now, this wasn't a bouncy setup by any means, but it was super plush and very comfortable. And ironically, for the KD12, there is still a variant of Zoom Air, and we'll get to details on that, but there's no longer React foam. So if you're looking for a React foam shoe for basketball, That's gone. There's no more React as of 2019, so I want you to see where that unfolds. So if you do like your Epic React running shoe or your Zoom Vaporfly, your Zoom Fly with the React cushioning, and you're saying, hey, I kind of want that in a basketball shoe, you got to get something used, whether that's the KD11, getting the Kobe 360, or going to Ross and picking up an old Hyperdunk React, which I think are, for the most part, pretty bad. But let's get into the new cushion and what makes it so special. All right, so the KD12 is really using, and I hate how Nike marketing missed the boat on this, Zoom Turbo. It's a full-length zoom articulated just like they did on the Kyrie 5, where they articulated the 4-foot zoom, and that zoom went all the way to the edges. So very similar, they put a new full-length zoom bag, fully articulated, going all the way out to the edges, and actually is replacing the Strobel board. So it's literally the insole or your foot, the insole, the zoom bag right there on top. Now, we've all had shoes that had Zoom Air where sometimes you don't feel it. You kind of just gotta trust Nike. You're like, all right, if you say I have Zoom Air. So it's how it's implemented. It's how it's able to flex and react. So even though it is closer to the foot, it depends on the foam they're using in the bottom. And even though they're not using React, I'm really excited that they're using a perforated foam. This is more excited to me than the Zoom Turbo setup they're using. Now, a similar setup was the Hyperdunk. Was it 2014, 16? So yeah, 2016. So this, if you can look, actually had holes where you could see the zoom, and those kind of gaps in the foam allowed the zoom to kind of flex and react. So the zoom set on this was phenomenal. So I think Nike was able to achieve a similar setup where the perforations is going to allow that zoom to flex and react. Also, if you want to have a bouncy zoom setup, you still need to have something a little bit firm underneath. It can't be on a soft foam. So I'm kind of happy they got rid of the React, because this should feel really bouncy. On top of that, because the zoom is right underneath your foot, you're getting a setup that's going to be very similar to a zoom or unlock zoom, which is what they got in the Jordan. So on the Jordan, same thing. You have a zoom bag in the 4-foot here. Your foot, you had your insole, you had the zoom bag, and then you had the outsole. So it was actually a cord out foam. So you felt that Zoom Air, and this was super bouncy. So obviously the Zoom is still on top of foam, but the fact that it's perforated and is giving a room to kind of flex and move, the fact that you're getting a much bigger Zoom bag than we've had before, and the fact that this Zoom bag is the closest they've put it to your foot, leads me to believe this is still going to be a very max cushion setup. So if you're looking for a bouncy ride, if you're saying I need a lot of cushion, this is going to be right up your alley. And finally, the traction. Now, the Kyrie line always gets kind of marked as having, hey, this is the line for best traction. Or your Kobe line gets like, hey, this traction on the line is generally, if you get a Kobe, you're good. I'm going to argue the KD line should be on that list. I started going back into it, and I don't really remember a KD that had bad traction. So one of the standout tractions for me was the KD5 and then the KD6. The KD7 was even better. The KD8 was still really good, had that nub setup. You can take a look here, similar to what they did with the Kobe, and I enjoyed it. And this was the only one that maybe had some issues. The KD9 is notated as having really good traction. Didn't play in the KD10 because I couldn't even get my foot in there. And the KD11 finally was really solid and very surprising, and I actually just picked that up a few months ago. So the KD12 traction should be good. I'm kind of confident in it. Now, this is another aspect that I haven't played it. I don't own them, and I can't tell you. And the only concern I would have is the fact that they're using clear soles, which I'm never a fan of. Give us a solid rubber option. That was another reason I waited for this version. This is one of the few versions with a solid traction, and at least on this version, it performed really well. I've been super happy with the traction on this, and this really felt like a running shoe that you could play basketball in. Kind of crazy, and felt less like an absolute basketball shoe. But I'll definitely do a full comparison for you guys. And this falls into, as far as a very wide foot friendly shoe in the KD11. So there's definitely a lot of positives going on. So the KD12 is fitting a very specific part of the lineup that Nike does not have. They have two max cushion setups in their lineup, and that is the LeBron 16 and the Jordan the Why Not 2. And both don't quite have the solid, stable base and or that complete lockdown and support. And I think the KD10 is going to bring that. Now, if you're looking for the closest competitor, honestly, I'm going to say something from Three Stripes, and that is the Dame 5. The Dame 5 actually is a full-length bounce setup that feels pretty much as good as anything they've done, short of maybe the Dame 2. It also has a lot of support, and the traction on that is phenomenal with a beefy herringbone. Now, I can have a full Dame 5 review and or comparison coming up so you guys can get an idea, and you're looking at the Dame 5 is 115, and shout out to Dame and Adidas for keeping it 115 1 through 5. Damian Lillard was always saying, hey, I want this shoe to be for the people where anybody can buy it, and he's stuck to his word, and Adidas has been honest, whereas Nike constantly comes out with signature shoes that start off budget and work their way all the way up, and they just keep coming out with another signature shoe that kind of matches that empty price gap below. So kind of what happened to the KD line if you guys want to look that up. But here nor there, the $35 extra you're spending on the KD line, it is launching first in the 90s kid colorway for April 1st for $150, and then is a more wide and general release in the black and white colorway for $150 on April 6th. So for that $35, you are getting a little more high-tech upper. Now, I won't say the upper is better materials, but I can't say the Dame 5 materials generally do feel pretty crappy, but it's also $115. And the other aspect you're getting is you are getting a more max cushioning setup with Zoom Air versus a foam setup in Bounce. Again, Bounce is still going to feel really nice. That Zoom should feel a little bit more cushioned. So for $35, you are getting just more of a shoe, but very comparable in where you're going to have a shoe that should meet a lot of people's needs. And it doesn't matter what you're looking for, it should be something where a lot of players can enjoy. If you guys can't tell, I'm excited about the KD12. This is the next shoe that's obviously on my list. I'm going to be getting as soon as I possibly can. If you want to shoot this to somebody where I can get it early, that'd be great, because I'd love to do a comparison test on this and see how it racks up against the other shoes in Nike's lineup, Jordan's lineup, and in the market overall. But that $150 price point for what you're getting and what you're spending, I think matches up really nicely. So I'm excited that we're getting some tech from Adapt BB. We're getting all new Zoom Turbo full link setup. We're getting something that has a lot more support than what's in the past. And we're getting all for a decent price. And even if it is expensive, you're getting a lot for your money. Well, for all my hoopers out there, hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully this gives you some insight into what is coming out. So we don't know how it's going to fit, and the KD line has been finicky. We don't know exactly how well the traction is going to perform, but overall, this looks to be like a very solid shoe. If you like that video, please give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe down below and hit the bell for new videos coming out. Obviously, you can follow me on Instagram, on Twitter if you guys want to shoot me direct messages or have any questions. Put them in the comments below. I do try to hit everyone back. This is Levi with Sneaker Gears. I really appreciate everyone, and I'll see you guys later.